Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Doc is In, episode 15, and the last day of our Love Cycle series, knowing when it's time to let go of a relationship. So, this video is going to be kind of personal, but it also kind of has a truth bomb, so stay tuned to the end, because it's kind of a doozy. So for my family that are watching, some of them don't know about what I'm gonna say at the end of this video. So sorry, guys. Um, um, you know, I think people often think that someone had to do something wrong per se for a relationship to end. But I don't necessarily think that relationships always end because somebody did something wrong. Ultimately, sometimes they end because two people are just simply wrong for each other. Um, I think I'll start with something that I found, which is just like 5 signs that someone doesn't care anymore. One, if everything is always your fault, yeah, because it's making you feel like not enough. If every time you bring up a concern, it's brushed off or seen as, oh, you're just being dramatic, yeah, that's number 2. The third one is when people stop asking simple things like, how are you? How is your day? It shows a lack of care, lack of concern. When you're constantly feeling lonely, you're in a relationship, but you feel lonely. Um, when you're afraid to point out something that's wrong because you know it's going to cause an argument and that argument will be made to be your fault. That's another one. So those 5 things are kind of 5 things to look for. Um, there's also a school of thought that it's like 5 relationship horsemen. It basically says that it basically says like the 4 horsemen of the relationship apocalypse. It was a theory coined by John Gottman, which is pretty freaking awesome. Where he talks about how when these 4 things get involved, then basically you know a relationship is on the way out. One of them is criticism. When people are saying things like "you always," "you never," whenever you hear that, that's criticism. That's an opinion, and it's not fact. The one thing that I often try to teach couples is how to fight fair and how to argue constructively. If I come to you and I say, I'm noticing that, for example, on this day and on this day, there were dirty dishes and I was working, but you were off and you didn't wash those dishes. That's one thing because I'm speaking to behavior. But if I come in and I go, you never wash the dishes, that's an opinion. And honestly, it's a lie because so what I'm saying is literally in all of the time that we've been together, you've never picked up a dish and washed it. So that's kind of the things you want to be mindful of. Keep an eye out for that. When criticism creeps in, it's a bad situation. Now, the antidote to solving that is again, speak to behavior. Don't speak to a personality flaw that you feel is the case because that's not fact, that's opinion. So if I'm speaking to behavior, you didn't take the garbage out yesterday. That's behavior. That is showing something that you can correct. If I say something like, oh my God, you're such an ass. Well, if you're not clear on when you're doing that, if you're not clear on how you're doing that, then that's just an insult on your character and on your person. So that's 2 different things. Defensiveness is another relationship horseman. When every time someone brings something to you, you immediately counter with a defense. Like, even if they're not criticizing you, if they're speaking to behavior, but you immediately feel a need to counter, yeah, like that's showing that you're not even listening and you're not even trying to take responsibility for what's going on. Also, whining. Being the person that whines is not what's hot in any relationship. Stop being a baby. Take responsibility for what you've done. All right. Contempt, being the one, like when you're in a relationship where one person is always throwing old stuff at them, calling someone names, all of those things, man, like that's so awful. Like someone cheats. For the perfect example of this is someone cheats, the other person finds out, and then they agree to stay with them. But for the rest of the marriage, it's you did this, rolling your eyes, like no, okay, because when you're doing that, all you're doing is tearing down the love that you did have at one time. Okay, so lower like in the fix to this has to come from both sides. One, somebody got to chill out with the rolling of the eyes and such, but at the same time, the other partner needs to be willing to call out every time that person is doing that. It's not easy, but you can do it. It can be done. Stonewalling is another one, and that's when one partner or both partners literally just shut down on the other. Like it's just like I don't care. Now, men, sorry, but yeah, 80% of the time this is us. We get to a point where you're overwhelmed. Maybe you're trying to calm yourself down, and it doesn't actually work. And that's where the problem lies, because if you shut down to calm down, but at the same time your partner's revving up, because, and women, please don't take this personally, women have a habit of doing this internal dialogue. I remember Kevin Hart kind of made a joke about this, how literally they're creating a story within themselves, and the time that you think you're taking to calm yourself down, for them it's actually escalating. So all it's going to do is create this same cycle over and over and over. So somebody's always going to want to talk, somebody's always trying to walk away. So when that happens, yeah, nobody's agreeing, nobody's talking. It's better to be able to sit with somebody and say, listen, I'm emotionally overwhelmed. I just can't maybe talk to you about this right now, but what if we talk about it more later? You know, it's again, it's communication. It's not saying that we won't ever talk about it, but it's just saying that right now I'm not in a place where I can. Um, so I'll give you some signs. These are like, these are things like talked about just then. But there are some other signs that maybe it's time to move on. When you're constantly feeling, as I mentioned earlier, feeling alone, but when also if you're feeling pain. Um, the thing about it is, I want to point out something. If you're in a domestic violence situation, it's a given that you need to get out of there. For your physical safety and well-being, you got to get out of there. If you sitting up there trying to fry a piece of chicken, you get busted in your face for no good reason. You got punched because it's Friday, and the sun going down. Come on, like that's not okay. That's really not okay. Get yourself out of there and get someplace safe, please. Call 911 if you have to. Run away. Get to a neighbor. Find a trusted friend. Anything. Just get yourself out of there. Okay. Um, when you're being held back, preventing your growth, it's time to go. It really is. When every day you wake up, you're hoping for something to be better than it is, and day by day it's the same, might be time to go. When you don't feel the same way about each other anymore. When I sit with couples in couples counseling, the first question that I ask without fail is, what are we doing here? It's usual protocol that you meet with the individual members of the couple one on one first, and then you meet with them together, because it gives you an idea as a clinician, where are we going? Like, if if Jack wants to stay together, but Diane is saying, I just want us to be able to co-parent, amicably, two very different things. Like that's two different end goals. Like that means that therapy is gonna not work out very well, because we have somebody that has to get to where the other person is. So when two people clearly don't have the same goals and direction, yeah, it might be time to let that go, man. I'll speak to my personal situation, and I'll try and pull things in. I was in a relationship for about 5 years. Um, And at the outset of that relationship, I didn't set good boundaries. I pretty much accepted behavior that was unacceptable. Um, but at the time, because I wanted to ultimately be in a long term relationship, I just put up with certain behavior that I shouldn't have. Whenever you're sitting beside someone and you're trying to talk to them, but they're busy talking to people on apps and all this other stuff, why are we even together? When you are in a relationship where you have all these secrets that are known secrets, I guess it's like, oh, I'm not gonna tell you that I'm messing around, but you know this, that kind of thing. Not okay. I'm sorry. And I want to speak to the people out there who are the cheaters. I'm sorry to tell you this, but just because you're successful in cheating on someone, please don't think that that person is stupid or that that person doesn't know, because oftentimes they do. But what you should realize is that they trusted you way more than you deserve to be trusted. Just saying. Um, but the point that I came to was I can't remain with someone who makes decisions unilaterally that involve both of us. When we've sat down and said, this is the direction that we're taking our life, and you make a decision and say, well, no, we're not going to do that, but it's not conveyed at all, then that's my cue. I gotta go. Like, breakups may hurt, but when you lose somebody who doesn't respect you or appreciate you, you have won. That's a gain on you, not a loss. But also, when a relationship ends, take stock in what happened. Ask yourself questions like, how did we get to that point? And also accept the role that you play, because I had to accept the role that I play. Like, I didn't set good boundaries. That was my fault. That was where I receive, okay, this is my part. But when I receive my part, I also have to learn from it. Don't spend your life being like, I don't want another person like this. I don't want another person like this. Focus on what you do want. What is that ideal person for you? Because if you can figure that part out, then I promise you, you can find somebody. There is truly somebody out there for everybody. Um, Understanding what is important is the biggest thing. Um, so my truth bomb. Uh, ooh. Okay, so for those who don't know, okay, I was married very briefly. I considered getting it annulled, but I went the divorce route just for simplicity's sake. Who I was married to doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But the thing is, it's like, yeah, I was married, and I want to apologize to my family and to my friends who I never shared that with, because I didn't trust you all enough to let you be a part of it. But at the same time, I think somewhere within myself, I knew it wasn't serious and I knew it wasn't going to last. Um, One of the turning points for me and the final straw for me was the fact that I'm a person of faith, and I always have been. I don't hide that from anyone. That is something that is very special and very dear to me. And as a person of faith, when the person that you're with comes to you and says, I'm not going to church anymore, and I just don't know how I feel about, God and religion, um, my thing is, I'm willing to pray with you. I'm willing to try and work it out with you in the sense of help you figure out what's going on. But me personally, I'm sorry. I'm with Jesus all the way, and actually, I'm not sorry about that. I mean, I know how good God's been to me over the course of my life, and if you decide that you don't want to do that, that's cool. But we're not gonna be together, because I just feel that it's gonna be pretty important for any partner that I have, any spouse that I have, to be a person of faith as well. So, yeah. So, truth bomb dropped, and I think that's cool. I think we're good for the day. So, I want you to really consider if it is time. Um, if things are going a bit haywire in your relationship, it may be time to rethink some things. And it's not saying that you have to let go, not at all. Sometimes it's time to just work on it. Let's make it better. Who knows? All right. Just always remember that you have to love yourself before you can love someone else. Biggest piece of information I could ever give you. So, yeah, that's the end of the Love Cycle series, guys. I hope you have a very happy Valentine's Day, whether you're loving on yourself or loving on someone else. I love you. Love yourselves. Love someone else. We'll all be better for it. Thank you.